What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are going to be talking all about filaments. That's right. This is your most asked question on my channel over the past month or so. So we're going to go over all of the filaments that I feel like are important for you to pick up as you start your HueForge journey. And I want to kill a misconception off the bat because there's this idea, especially in HueForge, that you have to have almost every filament that has ever been manufactured on the face of the earth. And that's just fundamentally not true. That's not the case when it comes to HueForge. I understand not everyone has an unlimited filament budget. I know I certainly don't. And so when I'm picking filaments that I want to purchase to bring into my studio to use, I have to be very strategic with the things that I pick. And there have been a couple that have worked their way into the rotation of what I do. And then there are a couple that I will never buy again. And so with all that being said, let's dive in and talk about filaments and how they will change the game for you as you're making HueForges. Okay, so we are going to get the basics right off from the bat here. We need a black and a white, okay? We need a black and a white. Now, the black is pretty simple. We want the TD value to be less than 1. You're going to hear me talk a lot about TD values today. It's one of the most important things when it comes to picking a filament for HueForge. Now, TD values can be measured by this little device right here. It's called the TD1S. You can actually find an affiliate link in the description below if you want to pick one up. But what this device does is it allows you to read the TD value of a filament that's not already preloaded here into Bambu Lab. So if I come here and type in Elegoo, we have no Elegoo filaments in here. Now, I know Elegoo is a very popular brand because it's more on the budget side. It's still a good quality, but you can get them for a relatively good price, but there's no Elegoo loaded in here. So if you wanted to measure the TD value of Elegoo filaments, you would need to pick up a tool like this. And it's important to, if you really want to be accurate, to pick up one of these and not just use the TD values that other people tell you, because even from batch to batch, they can vary. Even within HueForge, these Bambu Lab filaments here can vary from batch to batch. And so having a tool like this, if you really want to get serious with HueForge, is going to change the game for you. So we want a black and we want the TD value to be less than 1. Now, white is a little bit controversial. There are 2 different filaments that I recommend, and white is one of those that you actually might need 2 different whites depending on what you're trying to do, because white is that highlight color. It's typically the color that goes at the top of your HueForge, as long as you're not working in color pop mode like I am right now. And you typically want it to be very bright, very bold, very vibrant. And in this case right here, I'm using Bambu Lab Jade White. Now, Jade White is really unique. I'm actually using Ivory White. Let's bring in Jade White. Jade White is really unique because it has a TD value of 5, and you can see that right here. Now, that means that it is going to be a little bit more translucent than the Ivory White, which is another Bambu Lab filament, but it has a TD value of 3.5. It's a 1.5 difference. And although that might not sound like a lot, it's going to change the shading of your image drastically. And so the more matte color, the lower the TD, the brighter that white is actually going to appear on your screen. And I actually have an image that we can illustrate this with. Let me pull in. I just finished this incredible Nobara from Jujutsu Kaisen. Come to standard mode here. I'm just going to get rid of red. We're going to bring the black up, bring our gray up here, something like that. Okay. So this is our HueForge. If you want to make a HueForge as quickly as I just did, check out my Patreon where I have coaching and all that good stuff. You can learn how to use HueForge super efficiently. Anyways, back to filaments. So this Jade White here, you can tell it looks really good. And if I bring this gray up, you can see the hair actually starts to get a little bit darker. And that's because the Jade White is more translucent. The TD value of 5 means that it's going to allow more of the layers beforehand to shine through. And that's great. But a lot of times we actually want that top layer to be very bright and very vibrant. So if we drag in the Ivory White, you can see that that has a TD value of 3.5. You can actually see that it brings the brightness of the hair back up. It almost makes it look white. Now we could bring the gray up even more and make it more gray, but that means we're using more filament. And so it really depends on the use case for the white filaments. I typically recommend the 5.0 TD because it gives you more blending options. But a lot of HueForge creators use Ivory White because it gives you that very bright white kind of picture. And so depending on your use case, pick up the Jade White because it'll give you more options. If you're planning on printing the HueForges that other creators make, maybe pick up the Ivory White because it's the most popular one. So that's our black and that's our white. Now you can, of course, pick up filament from any manufacturer. I don't want you to hear me just kind of touting Bambu Lab. There's nothing really special about their filament other than the fact that it has the RFID chips that their systems can read. If you want to pick up an Overture filament or an Elegoo filament or a Polymaker filament, a tool like this will give you the TD values super easy. I actually have a whole video on this tool that you can check out. And this will make your life so much simpler when you use non-Bambu Lab filaments. And so maybe listen to more of the TD recommendations than the name of the filament. And so for black, you want it to be less than a TD of 1. And for white, you want it to be probably a 5 if you're making HueForges and a 3.5 if you are making other people's HueForges. Now let's talk about my favorite color of all time. You see I have this gray loaded in here, and this gray looks really good. This Bambu Lab Basic Gray is a very flat, kind of simple gray. It's got a very low TD. I believe it is, it's a 0.6, and so it's got a very low TD. It's going to do a very good job at covering things up, and it's a really good filament. I almost never print. I actually don't even own this filament, Bambu Lab Basic Gray, and that's because there's a better gray that Bambu Lab offers. And if there's one filament that I think you should buy from Bambu Lab, it is Bambu Lab Basic Blue Gray. This blue gray is my favorite filament that Bambu Lab has to offer. It is so good. I use it on every single one of my HueForge, and you can see that it adds so much depth into our HueForge. Even the shading here in this corner, we didn't get nearly as defined as we do with this, as with the blue gray. You look at this and it's very choppy, kind of splotchy, but when we bring in this blue gray, we get this nice blending, this gradient here. Bambu Lab Basic Blue Gray is like the one that you need to get. I highly recommend that filament. And if you have any questions about that filament, let me know down in the comments because I use it on every single one of my prints, and everyone, all 350 people in my Discord will tell you that Bambu Lab Basic Gray is phenomenal. I recommend that filament highly. So those are our filaments. We have black, blue, gray, and white, and that puts us around that $45 kind of price range if we go through Bambu Lab. Obviously, you can buy more to get a discount. You could go through something like Elegoo to get your colors like black and white. They don't offer a similar blue-gray like Bambu Labs. But there is another filament that I really like and I highly recommend, and I'm actually going to drag in my engagement photo to illustrate this. So this is when I proposed, and you can tell that this blue-gray does not look good on this image. It makes it very splotchy. It doesn't look very good. But if we scroll down, or if I just type in Bambu Lab or Bambu, I'm going to get this Bambu Lab Basic Beige. Now, beige is a really unique color because they all have relatively low TD values, 1.5, 1.0, 0.5, 1.0. We do have the Skin Universal Beige from Paramount that looks really good, but it's still, I don't know, it's still not my favorite. It's still a little dark for my taste. But this Bambu Lab Basic Beige is fantastic. It has an 8.0 TD. And if I drag this in here, you can see that it just adds so much depth to this image. This looks so good with the Bambu Lab Basic Beige. And this is another one that I haven't really found other manufacturers offering something as similar to this with the TD value of 8. That means that you can bring it up really high and still see all of the detail that we're getting from the black at our base layers. I recommend picking this one up. This is my second favorite filament from Bambu Lab, and you can use this to get all sorts of incredible effects on HueForges, and you don't have to color match anything. If I were to color match this image, it would be difficult, but it would also probably take anywhere between 10 and 16 color swaps for me to get something somewhere accurate. But with this, I only have 3 filaments. I can print this, and if I was offering this as a service for wedding photographers, I can print this in 5 hours, and I can charge a really high amount because it's wedding, and it looks really good. It looks very aesthetic. This is very in when we're looking at trends. So this Bambu Lab Basic Beige is a phenomenal pickup, and it's one of those other ones that I would recommend snagging from Bambu Lab. Again, you can find beiges from other manufacturers, but they're going to look more like the desert tan that Bambu Lab has, and this looks bad. Don't do this. This does not look good. All right. Awesome. So those are the different filaments that I would highly recommend. I know that we didn't talk a ton about other colors. There are some other colors that I would recommend, having your basic blues, greens, and reds. Those blend really nicely into each other. If you get them on the higher TD side, you can blend them to create really cool colors. When you have blue, green, and red, you can create almost any color by mashing them together. And then another one would be an orange or a yellow. If you're budget constraint, I would pick up a yellow, and then you can put like a darker color above it to bring it down into orange. It's much more difficult to bring orange up into yellow. And so if you're looking at filaments for colors, red, blue, green, and then yellow, and those would get you set up for success when it comes to HueForge. Now, there are lots more that we can talk about. We can talk about browns. We can talk about other types of grays. We can talk about pinks and magenta. But for starting, I think those kind of 6 colors are going to serve you very well. Black, white, blue, gray, beige, green, blue, red, yellow. How many is that? That's like 8 colors. If you're picking an 8 filament set, those are the ones that I would highly, highly recommend. Guys, I hope this was helpful for you. I know there's lots of confusion around filaments and what you should pick up. And so this should give you a good foundation. I might do a part 2 to this video eventually, where we talk more about, the different types of browns and terracottas and the different types of blues and magentas and all of the different things that we can do if we want to expand our filament collection. But to start, your black, white, beige, blue, gray, red, green, blue, yellow are going to get you to a place where you can create very cool HueForges with really cool effects without having to break the bank on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of filament. Also, I'm not sponsored by any filament brand. And so if you're out there, you should hit me up. I'd love to work with you. But this is just my experience. I've printed with all sorts of filaments: Polymaker, Overture, Bamboo Lab, all of the weird ones that you can find on AliExpress and Amazon, names I can't pronounce, all of the different filaments I've printed with. I've had the most success with HueForges with those colors. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, a fantastic rest of your day. Huge shout out to all of my patrons. You guys allow me to do what I absolutely love to do. If you want to check out my Patreon to be able to sell my files, or not my files, to be able to sell the printed versions of my files, or you want coaching to learn how to make incredible HueForges just like this, make sure to check that out. I think there are 3 spots left in my HueForge coaching tier, and that will get you from 0 to 100 on HueForge so quickly. Guys, until next time, y'all take care, and I'll see you in the next one.